Okay, the red light is on, baby.
Okay. So we wanted to give you a quick update on the follow-up report that was just turned in on October of 2010. So you have an idea about the ACC JC recommendations and the college's response to them. So we'll just quickly walk through. Recommendation 1 was on productive dialogue, and basically they were asking that the entire college engage in productive dialogue to identify our strengths and weaknesses. And remember that a productive dialogue is one that leads to action. Every commitment, every one of our constituent groups needs to sort of commit to that action and to work towards student learning as our focal point. Our response speaks to the way in which Dr. Laguerre has reached out to the campus community to broaden a campus voice through forums, division meetings, the SP Direct, expanded cabinet, his social gatherings, reaching out to Chamber of Commerce's, that kind of thing. Our governing board as well is looking for more voice, more input from the campus community. They've changed their agenda structure. They've provided some study sessions that allow for dialogue. And really by having the meetings at different centers, at Vallejo and Vacaville, is increasing access to the board. Of course, we're continuing to expand our online dialogue, our online communication. Our webpage is under construction. We use My Groups more significantly, and wikis and blogs are populating the campus community. I would even say our presence with Facebook is a way of increasing our access and sense of community and dialogue. Our student successes are ways that we speak to each other and create dialogue, in addition to some of the outreach that occurred with the community on the ESL. Our integrated planning process's whole function is to provide access and dialogue about our planning. That session that occurred recently with the mission, vision, and goals statement, our strategic goals and objectives, that was an internal discussion and an external one with our campus community was another way we had productive dialogue. And in general, we'd say that there's been an improved campus climate. As we move on to recommendation 2, of course, it talks about institutional planning. And of course, they'd like for us to have an integrated planning model. And actually, they want Solana to not only implement, but not only to plan, but to implement those plans. And of course, they're going to want us later on to evaluate them. And they'd like for our processes to be easily understood. Well, so we highlighted the fact that that we are working towards better clarity and understanding with the integrated planning process. Our fabulous librarian, Erin Duane, created a website that's now up on the college website. The PERT that group's main function is to ensure that there's clarity and understanding with our integrated planning process. And we have taken several steps to simplify the explanations. And most notably, we've also put out a survey that asks questions about how the campus understands our integrated planning process. We continue to implement and evaluate our college activities through our 3-year plans and program reviews and SLOs and SAOs. We have completed several cycles, well, 2 for sure, of the strategic and operational proposals. And the PERT has been evaluating and revising our planning process based on those discussions. And again, having our strategic goals and objectives updated, in which we're looking to, of course, create some data-driven decisions and a lot of accountability. These are things that occur on a dean level, but are always connected back to our classroom through SLOs. Recommendation 3 talks about institutional effectiveness, and of course they want us to establish a clear, systematic, consistent, and ongoing method of measuring and evaluating effectiveness in achieving our stated goals. Well, our response to that, of course, goes back and speaks again to some data-driven decisions. We gave some examples of how that occurs. We do make a lot of our decisions based on data that's available to us. We use FTS and grade distribution and questions of workload when we talk about a lot of our actions on campus. You can see the report from more examples. When it comes to outcomes, we're always connecting data to our program review, and we've also connected data to strategic goals and planning. We're also asking for data and evaluation on our strategic and operational proposals. These strategic plans have been updated, and we're always looking for the connection between planning and evaluation. And again, we're continuing to do our program review, which is a strong element of checking institutional effectiveness. So recommendation 6 spoke to stability in personnel, particularly in leadership positions. And I know that many of you are recalling that, we're in a similar position we were when we, for the last report, in the sense that we're still looking for an interim, or for a CBO and a Director of Fiscal Services. But significantly, the college's reaction to the loss of those employees this time is different than today. We have moved quickly to replace those positions and done it in a very open and transparent way. In general, we state that the morale is better because communication is better. We also comment about the reorganization, and we're really speaking to it in a way that while we've lost a couple of vice presidents, that we've increased our administrative capacity by decentralizing authority. So instead of having several vice presidents, you've got one who relies more heavily on deans and directors to provide the services that the 2 vice presidents had provided in the past. And as I mentioned before, that the interim fiscal services team is functioning and permanent. We're in the process of doing a permanent hire. The fact that Dr. Laguerre's contract has been extended for 2 more years is a sign of stability for the institution. Lastly, in the recommendation 8 on leadership, they're asking the board to delegate full responsibility and authority to the president, and they're speaking to the way in which our leaders should foster empowerment, innovation, and institutional excellence through dialogue and trust. Our response to that is, that we have a high degree of collegiality. Basically, we can see that through the study sessions in the board, the community outreach, even the board's code of conduct speaks to that. We do have the board has delegated its full responsibility to the president. We have several board policies that address that. You can look at the way the college has moved forward, and you see much greater support for the superintendent president through the board's actions. There has been a great deal of professional development and training for the board, and they even have a library of books available to them on good boardsmanship. There have been workshops. They're highly informed about what goes on in the college through what are called SPgrams. The faculty and staff receive SP directs. The board receives an SPgram. There have been retreats with Pam Fisher on boardmanship. They do a quarterly review, and of course we still have our special trustee on board who helps to guide the board in its decisions. So I think that in a nutshell is our response to the report. Of course, there was an addendum that we had. They were asking us about some federal compliance with student financial aid, some state compliance with apportionment and student enrollment, and then we were addressing some deficiencies on internal controls, and we've addressed all of these issues in the addendum. I'd like to highlight to you that, of course, this is simply some of the areas that, well, first of all, I'd say that these are some of the areas issues that were resolved and that were addressed in the addendum. And finally, I would comment to you that if you'd like to read the report for yourself, which I highly recommend, you can, there's a paper copy for you in the library. All deans and directors have a paper copy and an electronic copy. You can go to the wiki and get it there. And then, of course, it is up on our Solano website under accreditation. So I would encourage you to read for yourself and not simply rely on any one particular interpretation of the report. You can read for yourself. So any questions, please feel free to call me or Tracy Schneider, or contact your local supervisor or dean who can give you more information on the accreditation report.